Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Bremont Supermarine S500 BL. This is the blue version of the S500 Professional Diver's Watch. You can see this stainless steel bilingual calendar, day-date dive watch, and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Bremont Supermarine S500. Now, the watch on my wrist was part of a class of dive watches that debuted at Bezel World 2010. Bremont launched its first watches in 2007 after several years of R&D, but they were pilot-styled watches and oriented towards those with an aviation persuasion, either aviators or armchair aviators. Well, by expanding into dive watches, Bremont broadened its tool watch model line, and this is a watch that wears compact, offers big brand features, small brand appeal, and immense character and individuality in a class that is oversubscribed by almost everyone. Bremont essentially stating that if you're going to move into a crowded segment, you need to bring something new to the party in terms of design and function, and they certainly do. So how does an aviation watch company make a dive watch? Well, as far as ergonomics are concerned, very well. The timepiece is technically a 43mm steel watch, but on my wrist, if you look at it, you would not say that's a 43. Not when a Rolex Deep Sea is a 44. They seem to be from completely different segments of the size spectrum, and yet technically there's only 1mm difference between them. That's because this watch is reasonably slim in terms of its thickness, which is actually 17.4mm, though because of the cupped case back, it winds up sinking down to about 14 on the wrist. So yeah, you could actually wear this under a suit jacket cuff, and from lug to lug, it really stretches its advantage by shrinking its footprint relative to something like the Deep Sea. You can see that the watch is a compact 50.5mm across the wrist from lug to lug, and it's on a very supple and flexible natural vulcanized rubber strap from Bremont, which you can see is thick and substantial, but wonderfully pliant. It has a beautiful striated design that nicely echoes the vertically striated center of the dial itself, and it matches the color of both bezel and dial. A rich, I would say navy blue, but it's got a little bit of violet to it. So handsome and nicely made. It's flexible on the underside, thick in profile for durability, and it's paired with a simple Bremont branded pin buckle for quick on-the-fly adjustments as your wrist expands and contracts. What I really like is that you can pull it straight down. It doesn't have any virtual flare built in, so it doesn't extend the watch across the wrist the way some stiff straps can. You'll also note that Bremont uses a case construction method known as triptych. It's a combination of the hardening of all surfaces by heat treatment and the differentiation of the mid-case, case back, and bezel from the form of the lugs themselves. You can see how the round of the case and the teardrop form of the lugs are actually separate structures. This is how you can get such a large watch to wear comfortably. The lugs effectively fit your wrist, while everything that's structural about the case, the actual canister for the movement and dial, is broken out so one doesn't stretch out into the scope of the other. In other words, it's a 43mm watch that wears like a 41 or a 40. Now you'll also note a helium escape valve for you saturation divers, and you know who you are. The watch features a handsome bezel that incorporates a wonderfully sharp detent. Now, the edges are nicely knurled, so you will be able to grip them with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands. Then you can align with the beautiful cathedral style. It's actually a cathedral syringe hybrid minute hand, so you align the index up. It is a fully loomed bezel because of the sapphire cap. Like a Blancpain 50 Fathoms, you've got a essentially indelible scratch-resistant sapphire over the calibrations of the bezel to protect the super luminova paint. That's how you can have a fully loomed bezel. In terms of tactile sensations, it's very positive, very satisfying. You hear it, you feel it. It's got just enough resistance that you know it's not going to move on its own, but it also has enough of a pliability to it that you don't feel like it's going to get locked in place the second you've got a little bit of sweat on your fingers. Now, you'll also note that the dial features quite a good deal going on. All applied indices rather than printed is an upscale refinement that I like a good deal. There's also a tremendous amount of lume on the main minute and hour hand, and note the nod to the old lollipop-style Tudor submariners. It's subtle, but it's there in the hour hand architecture. Now, you also note that there's a nice frame around the day and the date, and yes, it does feature, for Francophiles, a French calendar as well as an English calendar, of course, Bremont being the name of the farmer who harbored the founding family of Bremont, the English brothers, when their aircraft was downed during a storm back during the 90s. In gratitude, they named the watch in his honor, but they also installed the bilingual calendar. Beautifully luminescent at night, it gives up nothing to the likes of Omega, Breitling, and Rolex. Now, underneath the case back, and you can see the image of the Supermarine S6B record-holding seaplane, after which the line is named, but underneath, you've got quite a good deal going on. There's a soft iron cage surrounding the movement, so, a Faraday cage, another great British invention, effectively shielding the watch from most magnetic fields and magnetic flux density. You also have Bremont's shock absorber system, so the movement is isolated from the case itself by pliant shock absorbers, basically elastomers or rubber, as you would find in something like a Richard Mille RM10 or RM5. And then finally you have 500-meter water resistance, which in conjunction with the helium escape valve means this is a true professional dive watch for almost any application you can imagine. Now, of course, there is a solid case back, helping to make the Faraday enclosure possible, but what's underneath is an automatic, they call it a BA36AE, which is a way of saying it's an ETA 2836 featuring a double quickset for the day and the date, a 4 Hz beat rate or 28,800 vibrations per hour, hacking or stop seconds so you can synchronize to an inaccurate reference time, and then finally, it's tough as nails with a 38-hour power reserve. This is basically the kind of engine you want in a hard as a rock diving style tool watch. And with friendly pricing and an interesting brand, it's a unique play in the overcrowded dive watch segment. It's hard to say that you've got a competing watch that's also assembled in London, and that pretty much puts this watch in a class of one as far as professional grade divers are concerned. You can see this handsome, colorful, and innovative Bremont Supermarine S500 dive watch and buy it on our website.